Hello and welcome to EdSpace, where we discuss some of the week's top headlines with Mint's editor Sukumar Ranganathan. Welcome to the show, Sukumar. First off, the big deal which was announced today, Diageo picking up a majority stake in UB. What does this mean for Vijay Mallya, for his company?
See, the deal between Diageo and United Spirits is one of those on-off things. They've been speaking since 2008. And you'll have to look at it from both perspectives. From Mallya's perspective, one, United Spirits has a lot of debt on its books. Because if you look at the company and if you look at the genesis of its formation, it's a company that was formed largely through acquisitions, right? And that's put a lot of strain on its books, with the result that although in terms of volume, it's the world's biggest spirits maker or liquor maker. This is basically hard liquor. In terms of profitability, even companies which are half its size, like Pernod Ricard's Indian companies around half of UB's size, actually earn much more absolute net profit than it does. Clearly, costs are an issue, debt is an issue. You'll also have to look at the larger group, which is the UB group. And you'll have to look at their other companies. Across companies, our own calculations, Mint's own calculations show that they ended the year to March with around 20,000 crore of debt. A lot of it is also on the books of Kingfisher Airlines, the UB group company that is in the news and has been in the news for all the wrong reasons. So there is some kind of restructuring that needs to happen. So clearly this is a group that needs to be set right from the financial point of view. So that's from the United Spirits perspective. From Diageo's perspective, India is a very tough market to operate. We try and I think the complexities involved in almost any other business fade into insignificance when you look at the complexities associated with the liquor business. It's a very political business. A lot of distilleries and breweries have political connections, the small ones, even the big ones and all that. The liquor lobby is very strong. Most states earn a majority of their revenue from taxation on liquor. And the tax structures vary wildly. Even when GST comes in, liquor will be exempt from it, which means this multiple tax structures will vary. And this has proved a tremendous hurdle for almost every single foreign liquor company which has tried to operate in India. Makes life very difficult. So makes it easier for them because they're getting stake in India's largest liquor company, which knows how things work, which practically set the system in many of these things. And immediately get more than a 50% market share. So I think from Diageo's perspective, I think that's a big plus. There will always be quibbles as to whether they overpaid, whether they underpaid. I think it's a fair valuation. I know that United Spirits shares had run up very smartly in the run-up to the deal, but I really think the price they're paying it's fair. It's not low. It's not a bargain. It's fair. I think Mallya's got a good deal.
You spoke about Kingfisher and how the company is in dire straits. Vijay Mallya, just 2 weeks ago, or a week ago for that matter, he mentioned to journalists that he's not going to be selling Family Silver, Reed, his liquor business, to keep the Kingfisher airline business afloat. How does this deal work in terms of the Kingfisher, the company?
No, I think he's right. Because you look at what he gets. He gets a lot of money. His group continues to hold the promoters, not his group. The promoters which is him and his associates, continue to own around 15% in United Spirits, right? So it's not as if he has an insignificant stake. He continues to remain chairperson of the company. He gets some money to play around with to restructure the debt of various other group companies, whatever it is. And he still owns a significant stake in United Breweries. He has close to a 38% stake in United Breweries. So it's not a bad deal from him. So sure, he's worked his exit strategy perfectly, almost perfectly in this case. And it's not even a complete exit. He still continues to retain a sort of toehold in the business. So it's a matter of semantics. You could say that he's exited, you could say that he's not. The question to ask is how much of the money he gets will go into Kingfisher. I think that's
yes.
the key question.
Yeah.
Answer, no one knows. Will some amount go in? It should, because I think what we have to understand is that there is likely to be a larger financial restructuring of a lot of the group companies, because United Breweries Holdings, which is the big holding company, gets around 2,400 crore, not an insignificant sum of money. Will the promoters put in more money into Kingfisher? I don't know. There have been instances in the past when Mallya has said no. Now I think the lenders are putting pressure on him, so I think you might see some kind of deal where he puts in a little bit of money, the banks chip in with some form of restructuring, and life goes on, if the airline has to be revived. But I'm not sure we should be seeing this deal, like a lot of people are saying, as the silver bullet that's going to make things all right for Kingfisher. I think you should look at what it means for United Spirits, you should look at what it means for Diageo. Kingfisher, if something happens, and my personal belief is something will happen, I think it'll be a collateral and an advantageous kind of benefit. I don't think it's the main item.
So what the newspapers or some of the columnists are talking about, that this is going to benefit Kingfisher, that's not the case.
It's not a given.
It's not a given.
As in my own assessment is, it may and it probably will to some extent, but it's not going to cure it.
The answer to the problem.
It's definitely not going to be the answer to the problem, because I think in Kingfisher's case there are business challenges that need to be addressed, and those challenges have still not been addressed.
Moving on to the US elections, President Barack Obama has been re-elected for a second term. In foreign policy terms, a lot of people are looking at it in terms of continuity, that the policies towards India will continue. But India Inc. is a bit nervous about what it means, in terms of outsourcing, business for trade, for business. What is your take on this?
It's a tough question to answer, but I think in general, most countries do the right thing by their businesses, right? And in this case, large business in the US wants to outsource.
Yeah.
Right? They don't want to do things themselves. They want to outsource because it makes sense from the economic point of view, from the business point of view, to outsource. And so I don't see a huge move away from outsourcing. Rest of it will largely be business as usual. I think we have to look at it. We have to look at two main things. The first one is this fiscal cliff, right? Which January, right? And how he addresses that, because he has to do something about that. It's about time. The second one, over the last 4 years, we've seen the US move to a large government, heavy government intervention, significant government intervention, government doling out funds for a variety of things, whether it's quantitative easing at one level or cash for clunkers kind of program, right? So it's moving away from the right of center approach to a left of center approach, bigger government and things like that. Now, when you do things like that, I think there will be some benefits down the line, which could mean more trade, more business for Indian companies and things like that. I'm not so concerned about Indian companies and their reaction, because I think both if you look at the Indian IT industry or if you look at any other Indian company, they have significant challenges that they themselves have to address here, which have nothing to do with the US.
Right.
So, and at the end of the day, I think the US will always do the right thing by business, by its business. It won't do the wrong thing by business.
One of the reactions from the pharmaceutical sector, for example, is that the
Obamacare and generics,
it will give them more business opportunities. Do you think that that's a fair assumption to make?
See, it's a very, very fair assumption to make.
Yeah.
But the generics wave was anyway happening.
Yeah.
Right. If you look at the last 20 years, I think it's been a wave that's been happening for quite some time. A lot of Indian companies have ridden this wave successfully. You need to be very, very smart to ride this wave, because it's a very, very regulation and litigation-driven process, and you need to be really smart to play around and make sure things are to your advantage. A lot of Indian pharma companies know how to play this game. The thing to remember is that when everyone speaks about a huge generics opportunity, I think they tend to forget the fact that generics are priced at a fraction of the cost of the original drug. Yeah. So I think you can immediately discount whatever they are saying by 70%, because that's really the opportunity you're talking about. But Obamacare is very, very pro-generics, and I think that's a good move for that means well for Indian companies.
So basically, business will find a way between India and the US.
Business will find a way.